In January 1959, a group of 9 experienced hikers set out on an expedition into the remote Ural Mountains of the Soviet Union. They were students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, young, strong, and highly trained in winter survival. Their leader was a 23-year-old engineering student named Igor Dyatlov. He was known among his friends as calm, disciplined, and determined. The expedition itself was not unusual. Every winter, Soviet mountaineers traveled into the mountains to test their endurance and skill. But this journey would become one of the most mysterious events in modern history. The group planned to reach a mountain called Otorten, a difficult but achievable destination for experienced hikers. Along the way, however, they stopped on the slope of another mountain, a place called Kholat Syakhl. The name came from the language of the indigenous Mansi people, and its meaning was unsettling. Mountain of the Dead. Despite the ominous name, the hikers had no reason to believe the mountain was dangerous. They were well equipped, well prepared, and confident in their abilities. But sometime during the night of February 1st, something happened on that cold mountainside, something that forced 9 experienced hikers to abandon their tent and run into the freezing darkness. Most of them never had time to put on their boots. And by the time rescuers finally discovered what had happened, the mystery had already begun. At first, no one was alarmed. Winter expeditions often ran late. Bad weather, difficult terrain, and communication delays were all normal in the Ural Mountains. But when the group failed to send their expected message home, families and friends began to worry. A search operation was organized. At first, it was made up of students and volunteers. Later, soldiers and rescue teams joined the search. After days of scanning the white mountainside, the searchers finally found something. The hiker's tent, half buried in snow. It was still standing, but something was terribly wrong. The fabric had been cut open from the inside. Inside the tent, investigators found boots, warm clothing, food, and personal belongings. Everything suggested the hikers had left in extreme haste, as if something had forced them out into the freezing night without time to dress properly. Footprints were later found leading away from the tent and down the slope. The tracks showed that several hikers had walked away wearing only socks. Some may have been barefoot, and yet there were no signs of another group nearby. No signs of struggle. No clear reason for panic. Only a torn tent on a desolate mountainside, and a trail of footprints disappearing into the snow. The first 2 bodies were found beneath a large cedar tree at the edge of a nearby forest. They were wearing almost nothing. Despite the brutal cold, they had no proper winter protection. Nearby, rescuers found the remains of a small fire. It seemed the hikers had tried desperately to survive after leaving the tent. A few hundred meters away, 3 more bodies were discovered between the forest and the campsite. Their positions suggested something haunting. They may have been trying to make their way back to the tent, but none of them made it. Months later, when the snow finally began to melt, the final 4 bodies were found in a ravine under deep snow. And that was when the mystery became even darker. Some of the hikers had suffered massive internal injuries, broken ribs, a fractured skull, crushing trauma. Yet strangely, There were almost no visible external wounds. One victim was missing her tongue, others had missing eyes. Some articles of clothing were later found to contain unusually high levels of radiation. Even now, these details remain among the most disturbing parts of the case. Because whatever happened on that mountain, it was more than a simple case of freezing to death. For decades, investigators, historians, and mystery researchers have tried to explain what happened at Dyatlov Pass. Of Kiki, one theory suggests that a small avalanche forced the hikers to cut their way out of the tent and flee down the slope. Another points to secret Soviet military testing in the area, perhaps parachute mines or some other classified experiment. There were also reports of strange orange lights seen in the sky around the same time. That led some people to speculate about unknown atmospheric phenomena, or even something not of this world. But no theory answers every question. Why did experienced hikers leave shelter without boots or coats? Why were some injuries so extreme, yet so strangely clean? Why was radiation found on some of their clothing? Official Soviet investigators gave only a vague explanation. They said the hikers had died because of an unknown compelling force. And that phrase only made the mystery more famous. More than 60 years later, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the world's most chilling unsolved mysteries. A group of skilled hikers entered the mountain with cameras, maps, and confidence. But something happened in the darkness that night. Something powerful enough to drive them into the frozen wilderness. And whatever that force was, the mountain has never given up its secret.